They telling me to take the safe route. This is the detour. Hoodie baby, you ain't seen a kid like this before him. Late night shooting for the moon like Warren. Them hits come out as soon as you hit recording. Born in America, Chevy and Ford, but these Greek ladies loving me.
Hello everyone, I am 1-800-LAWYER-UP, that is the gamer tag that I chose, and FormalFocus.com is the website that I created, and also the organization that I helped co-found. Sorry, there's a person in the background. She is trying to distract me, but nothing will distract me because it is the inaugural episode of Lawyer Up's Secret Public Diary. Now, what's a secret public diary? It's going to be my blog / podcast. I'm going to have gameplay in the background, which I'm going to completely ignore. It's going to be entirely unscripted. I honestly only have 3 words on my piece of paper in front of me. It's conflicts, attorney-client privilege, and law's tough. 3 points which deal with today's subject matter, which is where's my legal advice, bro? And that's because we're going to be talking about why lawyers don't like giving out legal advice to strangers or people they don't know. So that's kind of the central thesis of this podcast, number 1. And it's going to be entirely unscripted. The only rule I have is, since I have a limited amount of time, so I'm going to record once, and I've got a time limit on the gameplay. I'm going to try to finish that subject matter within the allotted time. And if I make a mistake, I can't edit it out, I just gotta truck along, even if someone in the background's trying to distract me. Unbelievable. But in any event, let's get started. So, one of the first questions people ask me, because of my gamer tag, 1-800-LAWYER-UP, is, is this a joke? Are you joking with me? Is this, it's a funny gamer tag? Are you, a fan of Better Call Saul or Suits? I am a lawyer. I actually crossed the bar in 2018. So basically what that means is I've had 4 years of university undergrad. So I've got my bachelor's degree. It's a double major in psychology and sociology, basically a criminology degree. And I had a perfect 4.0 GPA, and I wrote my LSAT. I got 178, which is a really good score. And I was able to get into law school, and I did 3 years of law school, 1 year of articling, which is basically a lawyer's equivalent of a doctor's residency, if you will. So you are lawyering, but you sign everything student at law, and you're under an actual lawyer's insurance. So they call them that principal. And after years gone by of articling, and during that year, you do bar exams, or what we call them in Canada, CPLEDs. And there are about 12 of them. Some of them are written. Some of them are like essay assignments. Some of them are in-person advocacy tests. And it's pass or fail. And if you pass all 12 of them, and your principal says you've done a great job, you're going to be a fantastic lawyer, and a year is up, then you have a crossing the bar ceremony where a judge just kind of, waves you in and says you're cool. It's kind of like a laid-back ceremony. You won't get to the ceremony if you haven't passed all your stuff. So it's just a nice little celebration. Friends and family come out, and you celebrate finally becoming a lawyer and making the big bucks. But fortunately for me, when I crossed the bar, during law school and during my articling year, I made some really wise stock market investments, and I accrued enough wealth just working as a lawyer and through investments that my money is actually making me money. And it's kind of, I'll probably talk about in the next podcast, is like finances and giving you advice and trying to pay it forward for, a lot of stuff that isn't really readily available for people. But it's this movement called FIRE, and it's an acronym. It stands for Financially Independent, Retire Early. And fortunately for me, I'm kind of in that stage, and I only kind of go back to the law game for worthy causes, and it's always on a pro bono basis. I do it free, and that's just kind of where I'm at. But since I'm currently not working as a lawyer, according to the Law Society of Alberta, which is kind of our Jedi Council, so to speak, benchers, we call them, instead of Jedi Masters, and they're kind of senior lawyers that decide the fate of people who aren't really doing their job correctly. I guess they figure out what consequences are going to be, and one of the rules is if you're inactive and you're not practicing, is you can't give out legal advice. So just to be clear, the stuff I give out during these podcasts and these blogs, they're completely for entertainment purposes. Another thing, too, is there's jurisdiction issues. So, obviously, I'm in Canada, I'm in a certain province and city, and what the law applies in my area may not apply in yours. So, it's just common sense, and I would just feel terrible if you just got pulled over by a police officer and said, I got advice from this guy online. He seems pretty legit. I mean, his gamer tag was 1-800-LAWYER-UP, and he said I could do all this bad stuff, and the way cops are, they're really high strung right now. I don't want you to get into any trouble. So, again, please talk to a fully licensed, actively practicing lawyer in your area if you want legal advice. And another thing too is I've been out of the game for a fair amount of time, and the law is always like a moving target. So definitely what I think the law is today. Obviously, if I get back into practicing, I had to read the newest case law and precedents and figure out what the law is and be up to date so I can give out good legal advice while I'm active. But enough of that. So the first thing, and this kind of gets into the Law Society of Alberta Jedi Council that I don't want to get into trouble with. The reason why lawyers don't want to give out legal advice to people they don't know is conflicts is the biggest one. Conflicts is kind of this idea that you don't want to throw the administration of justice into disrepute. And basically what that means is you want to make sure you're unbiased, you're coming to legal conclusions and decisions based off the evidence and facts that you see, and you're not sort of creating evidence out of the ether which wasn't properly attained. And an example of this is I did a lot of family law in my articles. So let's say I was handling Miss Susie's divorce, and Miss Susie is married to Mr. Brad. I don't know why their last names are first names, but just play along. It's a suspension of disbelief, and I only got one shot at this because it's unscripted and everybody knows the rules. Can't re-record. So say their divorce is over, right? And let's say Mr. Brad has a brother, Mr. Billy. I don't know. Their parents liked B names. And Billy is going to one of my legal clinics, and I'm giving him advice on his divorce. I guess divorce is a thing that their family goes through and are experts on. So my legal assistant would actually have to give me a list of names of people that I'm going to be seeing at a clinic, and she puts them into a database. And this database is going to not only print out names that clients that I've dealt with, but clients on the other side, opposing parties, which could potentially bring out a conflict. So if I represent Mr. Billy after I was representing Mrs. Susie on the other side, there could be a conflict because of Mr. Brad. So there's an arm's length transaction, and if I actually represent someone that I shouldn't have, just because of my history with other previous clients, I could get into a lot of trouble with the Jedi Council, benchers, Law Society of Alberta. I could get disbarred. That's almost an auto disbarment, because before you can give out any legal advice, you got to make sure that it's the type of individual that you can give out legal advice to. The second is attorney-client privilege, and a lot of people. This was from Season 2, Episode 8 of Breaking Bad. This was when they first introduced Saul Goodman. And he was talking about putting $1 in his pocket because, you need attorney-client privilege rights. And I guess that was some sort of payment as a retainer or something like that to make it official. But the way it works in Canada... You know what? I'll play the clip so you guys know if you haven't watched the show.
First things first, you're going to put $1 in my pocket, both of you. You want attorney-client privilege, don't you? So that everything you say is strictly between us. I mean it. Put $1 in my pocket. Come on, make it official.
In Canada, it's a little different. You don't actually need to pay someone in order to get legal advice from them and having attorney-client privilege rights on that relationship that you have. So if you're a civilian and you're talking to someone you know is a lawyer and you feel like you're receiving legal advice, as a lawyer, that makes you my client, that makes you protected. And the bad thing about that is that you can walk around and say, I'm doing this because so-and-so told me I could, and I can get into a lot of trouble if, I'm inebriated at a party and I'm just talking out of my butt and what I'm saying actually doesn't make any sense. So you got to be very careful with it. And it kind of reminds me of that Michael Scott scene where he sees Toby back in Human Resources when you've got a friend of a friend who knows you're a lawyer, is just itching to get some advice from you.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
So that's that. And the last point is the law is tough. And situations can be complex, and you don't know, even though the law is static and there's certain rules that are in place, the story and situation is always going to be different. There's going to be mitigating factors and stuff like that. So you really do need to talk to a lawyer who knows all the nuances of the law and has done enough of the law to know exactly where you need to land and where you need to be. But those are the reasons. Where's my legal advice, bro? Hopefully you enjoyed this first podcast, and the next one will be on finances. And like, comment, subscribe, be one of the dozens of people that watch me. All right, thank you. Have a great day.